week 6, we covered 3D. Now, as you can see right here, I turned these two shape layers, they're just ellipses with a stroke, into 3D layers. This one's a solid. I gave this one a dash. You could get to the dash settings. Obviously, it's under content, ellipse, stroke. We went over this before, but I'm just showing you one more time. You click the plus button to get your dashes, and then you just change your dash and your offset. You can animate those with your keyframing. Now, I also want to point out that both of these rings that I made, if you look up here at the stroke color, they're white. I made a green light in the scene that turns them green, and you see the shading on them. There's also casting shadows right here. I turned the shadows on in the material options. You do that for each individual layer, so if you want to catch lights or shadows, you can turn that off or on. Accept shadows is on, accepts lights is on, cast shadows is right up here. Alright, now I also placed a camera in the scene. This camera is in the scene in a different position, and its light is here. Now, I want to show you something else with this tutorial. So this is just about making a pre-comp with 3D layers and then doing the layer collapse. Collapse transformations. This scene I made, it's another 3D scene. I've got my 3D elements here. The light in here is blue, and the camera, as you can see, is in a completely different perspective than the other scene. That's going to be important when we do collapse transformations. So, if you're going to make a pre-comp or pre-compose layers in 3D, you must include the camera and the lights for your pre-comp to work. If you don't have the lights, it's not going to be in the scene the way you want it. So everything you need, camera, lights, and any shapes or items, layers that you want. So always you just right click, pre-compose. I'm going to call this collapse transformations. Okay, so that's the pre-comp now. It's inside the scene that I made before. Here's the new 3D scene. This one has a background that's catching the light and the shadow, and we're working in low res, work at quarter resolution and ray trace quality 1. Reminder, you go to the ray trace option here, or you can go composition settings to pull it up. But we're in ray trace options, quality 1. It's the lowest quality, so that we move fast throughout this. Now I'm going to add my pre-comp into scene 2. This is what had the lights and the rings from the other one. I want you to notice something once it loads up. Okay, I've got the lights and the camera from the pre-comp, but it's not matching up with the scene that it's in, and look what happened to the shadow here. It's now, there's a conflict between the two 3D scenes. So, I'm not going to click 3D on this layer. What we're going to need to do is collapse transformations. Remember, if you don't have your switches modes selected, this is the modes. You click your toggle switches and modes. This is your switches. Collapse transformations is right here in the middle. There's shy. This is the quality of your video to it. You could make it any quality that you want. I'm just going to click in the middle one right here, and there will be a gear icon right there. That's collapse transformations. Now watch what happens to it. Now, see, it's using the lights in the scene. This shadow is back. The green light is now gone, and the camera angle, it's using the cameras and lights from this scene to blend in. So now I'm going to move its position. Let me 3D enable it here. That should help it. Now I can move it in Z space. See, now it's interacting with the scene the way that I want it to. And if I hit rotate, I'm just doing this real fast blindly. There we go. Okay. So you can see how it is now to where we want it to be with the scene. It's using the lights and the camera from the scene we put it in, even though the pre-comp has its own lights and camera. Now you gotta watch out for stuff like this, but you get the idea. If I turn off collapse transformations, watch the shadow back here, watch the color and the angle of the 3D scene. See, we moved it in its 3D space, but you see it's not using the 3D in this area as we did before. I just want to point out real quick right here in the collapse transformations, I'm going to select both of these and hit the R key. The rings will always come out on a flat plane, so as you can see I changed their X and Y and Z rotations so that each one has its own shape to sort of make this intersection. So that's how you do precomposing layers in 3D and then use the collapse transformations right here to get two different 3D scenes together into one scene with the same camera and the same lighting. So now I'm just using my camera tool. I'm hitting the C key to toggle through them. This is the one I want to watch. If I move the camera in this scene, the layer is going to move with it because it's now using the lights and the camera from that scene. So, and you can see it catching the light and casting shadows the way it would in the scene. Move this out a little bit. 1 second, and there you have it. That's just an example, as I said, how to pre-compose 3D layers. Remember, you need to include the lights and the camera. And then if you're going to put a 3D pre-comp into another scene that has 3D and you want it to blend in, use the collapse transformation switch right here. If you don't see your switches, remember, always hit the toggle switches and modes button for that to work.